What's going on, fam? Welcome to another installment of TSC Unleashed. We in the building, man. Big ups to the family members joining us on this one. Good to see y'all back after a couple of days off, as I want to say. I mean, from Saint Talk anyway, man. And we got a lot to talk about. TSC coming to you a little later on today around about 5:30ish, I want to say. We'll have the TSC virtual tailgate. We'll open up the line, get some stuff from the family members. But in this episode of TSC Unleashed, I'm BQ chiming with you. My co-host is Uncle Mozzy. My humble co-host is Uncle Mozzy. And this one, we're going to talk about the Lakers. That's right, the LA Lakers taking the crown. They closed out the Miami Heat over the weekend. They are champs again as they're hosting up the hardware. LeBron James, title number 4. Got to give him credit, man. 4 titles. Uncle Mozzy, of course, doesn't like it. He was jumping ships until he had no more ships to jump, and ultimately he jumped in that cold water and didn't fare well for him. We'll talk about that. We'll also recap week number 5 of all NFL action. A lot of stuff to talk about in these wins. A lot of side stories to talk about. The firing of Dan Quinn. We'll break that down, as well as Dak Prescott situation. Ouch. Really ugly injury. And then it reflects back to should he took the money. So we'll cover that waterfront today. But without further ado, we got a slam-packed, jam-packed show. Please hit the like button. I'd like to thank Brian, JT, Stangman, and all the rest of the family members for joining us on this installment, this Monday episode of TSC Unleashed. Let's get it underway. Uncle Mozzy, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm wonderful. How you doing? I couldn't be better.
Anyway, though.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off because
no. You cannot steal the thunder of this moment. Don't try. I will not allow you to absorb what we about to say. Anyway, Uncle Mozzy, he called it. He had a pretty good bunch of callings, but none of his favorite teams, which was Boston, neither Denver or the Clippers. None of those guys represented the NBA Finals. It was, of course, the Lakers and the Heat. The Lakers dispatched them, took care of business in 6 games. They are the champions again. 106-93, Mozzy. We're going to delve right into it. 106-93, Anthony Davis and all those guys looking good. But LeBron James was the man once again in this one in 41 minutes of action. 28 points, 14 rebounds, 10 assists. Triple-double. He was also the MVP. LeBron freaking James, title number 4. And he had a complete effort by the team altogether. 19 from Anthony Davis in 35 minutes. 19 with 15 rebounds. Love the strategy that Frankie V came into with this one, as he played Anthony Davis at the center position. And that was too much for Bam Adebayo, who did play well. He had 25 points and 10 rebounds, but they didn't get much help from anywhere else. And I talked about Jimmy Buckets need to have another big performance. He could not duplicate this one in Game 6 to force a Game 7. 11 from Danny Green, who got going. Caldwell Pope was hitting on cylinders. 17 points in 33 minutes. 19 off the bench from playoff Rondo. And we say off the bench, but really Rondo comes in late and he occupies the point guard position. He played 30 minutes. He hit 8 of 11 shots from the field. He was 3 of 4 from downtown. For somebody that said he couldn't shoot the 3 or he couldn't hit a wide open shot, he hit enough of them with 19 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists to help up off the bench to help. Now looking at what Miami was able to do, not enough. Only Bam Adebayo was respectable. Jimmy Buckets was laughable. 12 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, 45 minutes, didn't work. 12 points from Jay Crowder. Robertson only 10 points from him. Tyler Hero had a disastrous affair, just 7 points. No production off the bench. Kelly Olynyk 9, 8 points from Kendrick Nunn. It wasn't enough. Jimmy Butler needed to get going. He couldn't get going in this affair for obvious reasons. The Lakers knock off the Heat, move on, and win the title. This is the first title Lakers have won since 2010. So the Lakers get they're champion, world champions again. They tied, I think it's 17 titles for tied with the Celtics for the most in NBA history, behind LeBron James. He moved to the West. He said he was going to take the Lakers back to respectability. They win a championship with our pillage, brainwash Anthony Davis out there. they get it done. 106-93. Mozzy, thought process on the Lakers winning another title, and Anthony Davis getting his very first one.
I don't know. I mean, definitely. I don't know what you're looking for. You're looking for me to say. I mean, obviously,
you can
this
at least be congratulatory. You can at least say congratulations. You don't have to be Ray Hayton.
They are not in order. I'm sorry. This got to have been. This particular finals has the biggest asterisk. Listen, it's LeBron asterisk, right? LeBron asterisk. This is by far the worst showing I've ever seen in an NBA. I didn't even watch it, bro. I didn't even watch last night's game. I watched the first few minutes of it, and I saw where the railroad was coming in at. I saw them laying down the tracks and the wood beams and the stakes, and I saw the railroad job coming, bro. So I was like, you know what? You know, it was over with me in the game 5 against Denver when he called the NBA front office and begged for the referee. Well, got the NBA to lean on the referee to call more fouls, bro. It was over for me at that point. This championship, bruh, like when you talk about the term got it out the mud, I'm surprised his uniform wasn't dirty, because that championship has so much mud and dirt and muddy water on it. It's astounding to me. It's like they pulled it out the Mississippi River and handed it to him, because anytime you take a banged up, battered up, undersized, undervalued Miami Heat team, and that team under the will of one man takes you to 6 games, and you have where you going 9 and 10 players deep on your roster, where Miami averaged between 6 and 7 players, stifled through injuries, all kind of stuff. And he had the audacity to hoist that trophy in the air like he really earned it. He got a 5-month off hiatus to nurse those 35-year-old knees, joints, and ligaments and back. He came to a bubble, a situation where not many wanted to be in. A lot of these guys couldn't adapt to the 3 months isolation away from family and friends. It was just a big thing, and I understand everybody had to go through it. I get that, but it's always the same thing with me when it comes to this guy. This guy goes and muddies up water everywhere he lands, everywhere he falls. He muddies up the water. He's got to bring all of these people with him. He's got to create this gigantic dynamic when it comes to players. Come on, Anthony Davis. Come on, this one. Come on, that one. He's got to have this gang mentality. Then he goes and faces an undersized, undervalued, 5th-seeded Miami Heat team that took them to 6 games before he was able to close it out. And after he called the NBA front office and begged for the referees, or begged for the front office to lean on the referees to give him more calls, because him felt he was being hit too hard. So with all of that being said, this championship has the biggest asterisk on it ever in NBA since the ABA-NBA merger 50 years ago. This is by far the most marked up, scarred up, muddied up NBA Finals and championship that I have ever personally either witnessed, seen, read about, heard about, anything. This definitely, to me, hurt LeBron James' legacy, especially given the fact that he couldn't sweep these people or beat them in 5 games, as everybody predicted him and his boyfriend Anthony Davis would have been able to do against this undervalued, undersized, undermanned, under-equipped, undercoached, quote unquote, Miami Heat basketball team. So congratulations to LeBron. He's a paper champion. I checked that trophy last night and the rings. I just happened to get off the phone with one of my good friends. He's a jeweler, and they just placed an order for 10 pounds of bronze so that they can make all those rings, because all those rings will be made of bronze. Matter of fact, they're not going to have bronze. You know what the trophy was made out of? Remember the gold tinfoil ashtrays at Popeyes back in the day? That's what that trophy was made out of. Gold Popeyes tinfoil ashtray. That's what it was made out of. He ought to be ashamed, and anybody that supports this dynamic and this foolishness, including you and anybody else on it, should be ashamed. So now go ahead. I've spoken my piece. Take off. Let me have it.
Well, I tell you what, Uncle Mozzy, that was well said. Especially what was funny about the Popeyes gold ashtrays. That was really fun. And a retro look back in the days, because I forgot all about that. Regardless or not, you're absolutely right. Dealing with the fact that how the NBA handles its superstars, but that shouldn't come as a surprise. They did the same thing with Michael Jordan. They protected Michael Jordan, and the NBA loves dynasties. They love to cradle teams and protect them and build dynasties. So a lot of people don't like that.
You don't have the right to speak his name. You don't have the right to speak his name. Don't you ever speak Michael Jordan's name in my presence.
All I can say is that right now, the Lakers are the NBA champions, like it or lump it. If you don't like it, take their asses down. That's what I say. I mean, that's what it come down to. You know, had old LeBron sitting up at top winning championships. He was able to trick Anthony Davis to leave the Pelicans, to come out there to LA, and Anthony Davis could have went to Boston. You know, that'd been a better trade, and we'd have been able to get Jason Tatum here. Might have not ended up with Zion, who knows? But Anthony Davis he has a championship ring with LeBron James, and he continues to do this. So low ratings, and I think that's due to a lot of other stuff involved as well that people are tired of hearing from. And I think that's an issue as well too. So anyway, big ups to the rest of the family members that you hear animated and very unhappy on the different side of things, and on the other different side of things, dealing with what Mozzy's talking about. We look at LeBron. This is nothing new. They didn't create these rules for LeBron. They had something called the MJ rules. Y'all remember that? Huh? Remember that? They go back before that. They had when you couldn't get within 2 feet of Larry Bird without him about somebody calling the foul. The NBA has always done this. You know, I've been following, watching the league for a very long time. The superstars, they protect the superstars because they're the face of the league. They get calls most people don't get. We know this. That's the corruptness of the game. We know that. But LeBron is simply doing what they're willing him to do. The league could tell him, "Shut up, LeBron, and play." You know, he cries for every call. He cries more than most players do, because he goes to the cup and he does get hacked a lot. But he wants every call, and that's really unreasonable. But calling the league office, that's ridiculous. I remember Swade sent me something. He texted me something from Michael Jordan, when Michael Jordan, when the referee reversed the call simply off the back when Michael Jordan told him, "Hey, ref, that was a foul." It was when they were playing the Philadelphia, it was against the Sixers. I want to say the team was, and you could hear Michael Jordan telling the ref, "That was a foul. That's a foul." Referee said, "Mike, I didn't see a foul. I didn't see a foul." So what did the referee do? He turns around and says, "Foul on such and such," and then turns around and says, "Michael, I didn't see a foul, but I'll believe you." That's what kind of stuff you're dealing with Michael Jordan. That's nothing new.
I don't believe that, because that's Wade a hater. He a Michael Jordan hater, just like you a Michael Jordan hater. But y'all love LeBron. How dare you or him speak Michael Jordan's name in your mouth, in your filthy LeBron James mouth? Don't ever speak the greatness with the fakeness.
Sound like hate. But we always come with the receipts.
And he talked with it.
We always come with the receipts.
With Tommy Nunez. And here's our court sounds. Listen to this conversation.
He never controlled it, Michael. He didn't touch it with both hands. That's the thing. You think so, Michael? 55 hits, 2 to come. Michael, I didn't see 2 hands on him, Michael. But I believe you.
Referee said, "Mike, I ain't see no hands on him, but I believe you. Don't mess with me, man. I come with the receipts. Don't play with me, man. Don't play with me. I come with the receipts." Anyway, we got to move on, Mozzy. I'm sorry, we can't stay that, my brother. We got to get into the breakdown, but I understand your passion but you're going to have to eat this loss. LeBron James has 4 championships now. The Lakers are the champions, like it or lump it.
That's 40%. I'd punish my kids if they brought home a 40 on the test paper, but go ahead. My kids couldn't use the phone outside if they made a 40.
First of all, listen, you got to give LeBron James his credit, man. Like it or lump it.
40%.
Like it or lump it, you got to give a man his credit, Skip Bayless. That's the bottom line. Regardless or not, LeBron James is a champion.
You crazy? You're only missing one person.
Skip Bayless is trash.
Off the show. Huh?
Skip Bayless is awful. He's garbage. And the thing is, if LeBron James won he wins. But I guarantee y'all be prosecuting him several times harder than anybody if he had lost and Miami had done. You'll be saying that he's garbage, but he can't win for losing. He can't win for losing. He wins, he's still a cheater. He loses, he's a disgrace. See the hatred and the crooked, dumb, rotten double standard there? I'm gonna just leave it on there and then we're gonna get ready. I'll bring the receipts. I'll bring the receipts, family. I'll bring the receipts. Y'all heard what I just played about your boy Michael Jordan. I just played the referee. You heard what that referee said. Mike, I ain't see a foul, Mike, but I believe you and called the foul, and the referee didn't see it. That was Michael Jordan when he was with the Wizards. And he was able to get that.
He saw the replay at the score table. What are you talking about?
Yes, that's absolutely not the truth. All right, let's keep it going. We're going to move it to the NBA side of the discussion. All right, let's start it off, Moz. We're going to go 3 games, and of course, we comment like you do so we can get through them. The first batch of 3 we're going to start off with the Panthers. The Panthers were able to get a win against the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons fell hard in this one, 23-16 at their own building. They're a disastrous 0-5. Still in all, I love Dan Quinn. They should have kept him. He was doing a great job for Atlanta. Teddy Bridgewater, 27-37 for 318, 2 touchdowns in the matchup. Wasn't sacked at all, had a QBR 85.7. Mike Davis, who's on my fantasy league, 16 carries, 89 yards. He averaged 5.6 yards per carry in the matchup. Robbie Anderson went off, 8 catches, 112 yards, 14 yards per catch. DJ Moore, another one of my fantasy jewels, 4 catches, 93 yards. He also had a score in the game. Mike Davis had 9 catches for 60 yards in the score as he's filling in for Christian McCaffrey. They stay in balance. They keep it moving. Atlanta goes down. Matt Ryan, 21 of 37 in the matchup. He was sacked a couple of times. 226 yards and interception, QBR of 38.3. Todd Gurley got his hustle on, 14 carries, 121 yards, 1 touchdown, averaged almost 9 yards a carry. Didn't do any good. Atlanta falls through the floor, 0-5, 23-16 to Carolina. And of course, Dan Quinn was fired. That's right, fired and ran out of the building. Him and Dimitrov, get your asses out of here, says the owner of Home Depot. He moved him out and probably gave him a job stacking or operating the machinery at Home Depot. They probably ain't good enough to do that. All right, let's move on to the match. The next matchup, Las Vegas Raiders against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Vegas came alive and was able to get a good victory over KC, who dropped the 4-1 on the season. They go to 3-2, 40-32. Derek Carr, 22 of 31, 347, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 92.1 QBR rating. Josh Jacobs, 23 carries, 77 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Henry Ruggs, 2 catches, 118 yards, 2 deep bombs. He had a score in the game. 5 catches for the awesome Darren Waller, the tight end, for 48 yards in the score as well. Patrick Mahomes, boys, 22 of 43 for 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a pick. He was sacked 3 times in the matchup, 74.0 on the QB rating. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was nullified in the game, 10 carries for 40 yards, not much out of him. Kels, 8 catches, 108. And the score wasn't enough. Las Vegas takes care of business against Kansas City and knocked them from the unbeaten ranks. Okay, next game in the trilogy. Arizona were behind in this game, came alive, were able to take the contest 30-10 over the listless Jets. I'm looking forward to Adam Gase to be the next coach to be fired. Kyler Murray, 27 of 37, 380 yards, 10.3 yards every time he fired the ball. 1 touchdown, 1 pick, sack once, 77.2 QBR rating. Kenyon Drake got going, 18 carries, 60 yards in the game. Kyler Murray, 9 carries for 31 games in the score. Both of those guys scored. DeAndre Hopkins, 6 catches, 131, had a touchdown as well. Christian Kirk got going, 5 catches, 78 yards as they got going. Of course, nothing too much. Joey Flacco, garbage time Flacco, 18 of 33, 195, had a touchdown in the matchup. He was sacked a couple of times, did him no good. Le'Veon Bell activated, 13 carries, 60 yards, no good. Jamison Crowder, 8 catches, 116 yards, 1 touchdown, just about it. 30-10, Jets go down. Cardinals 3-2, Jets 0-5. Look out for Gase to get fired. Sometimes this week I'm saying, come on, you can't justify keeping them there. All right, this first trilogy of games, Uncle Mozzy, please feel free to go in on any which or a combination of thereof that you want to talk about.
Starting Carolina, Atlanta. We knew Carolina had a really good shot at beating Atlanta. We already know what Atlanta has been bringing to the table all season long, which is inconsistency and inability to close out games. We talked several times about Mr. Dan Quinn being fired. I'm glad that finally happened. Get him out of there, because to be honest, I would have definitely gotten rid of him after the Super Bowl. But I understand that might have been a misnomer. But when it happened 2 more times and he still gave him the benefit of the doubt to go lose to Carolina, that is all on Mr. Blank. That has nothing to do with anybody else. Squarely on his shoulders. Moving forward to the Kansas City Las Vegas game, I think the best thing about that game, to be honest, I was getting a little tired of everybody jumping on the Mahomes bandwagon and like kind of ignoring this guy named Russell Wilson in Seattle, who in my opinion is the best quarterback in the NFL at this point in juncture. But the other thing I took from that was the Saints lost to Las Vegas doesn't seem that bad anymore, considering that Las Vegas beat the almighty Kansas City Chiefs and the new baby Jesus known as Patrick Mahomes. So that was a really good look there. I don't feel so bad about that loss now. After seeing what I saw last night and the resilience of Las Vegas, that's really good for them. Their destiny is in their hands now, because, you know, having that one up on Kansas City, they could definitely cruise control through that division. One more win, they could easily win that division. And I mean, Gruden will have successfully within 3 years turned that franchise around, as he did 20 years ago when he did it the first time around, before exiting there and taking up the Tampa Bay job. Or vice versa. I can't remember which one it was, but I mean, we know his pedigree, so we expected that to happen. I think it happened a lot sooner than I thought. I thought it would take him at least 5 years, but he did it in 3. Darren Waller is an absolute monster. Fantasy pick of mine on both teams. Fantasy, which I'm currently beating Brother Till right now, so I gotta go hurry up and eliminate him. I had a couple bad breaks with a couple injuries and stuff, but I think Till's gonna go down tonight, and I'll reign supreme in that league and dominate the league as I said I would on draft day, and as I said I would last week. Last but not least, yeah, well, you can bring your receipts out for that. You can check my stats. Last but not least, we know the Jets are trying to trash for Trevor. I don't know if he'll get rid of Gase, because again, that goes against the whole mantra of trashing for Trevor. They gotta get him. That's the only way this franchise is going to turn around, and maybe they could put a few pieces with him. But no doubt, he will be the number 1 pick out the draft this year, and no doubt that the Jets will land him as long as they continue to be the dumpster fire of a team that they are. That's all I take from those first 3 games. But again, great game from Las Vegas. Makes me feel really good about the Saints loss. Doesn't look so bad now. I love to see Patrick Mahomes go down in flames, because I am the antagonist that loves to see everything bad happen to all of these players that y'all put build up on, because I, unlike some people on this show, love humility. So just watch out for my victory today over Brother Till. Let's try to cheer the Saints to victory today. Great job by the Raiders. Great job by Carolina eliminating the Falcons, because I can't stand them either. And, hopefully the Jets will get Trevor and try to turn their franchise around.
Yeah, that says a lot, man. Let's move into the next triad of games now. Philadelphia and Pittsburgh was a very lively game, back and forth. Ultimately, Pittsburgh was able to extend out the game. Several mistakes made by Carson Wentz, as he continued to really have a lot of pressure on him. And Ben Roethlisberger having the Pittsburgh Steelers. Big ups to Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. They're 4-0, man. 27-34 for Big Ben, 239, 3 touchdowns in the affair. He sacked 1. QBR was 84.2. Ray McLeod was their top rusher, 2 carries, 63 yards in the matchup. James Conner, the Terminator, 15 carries of 44 yards, 3 yards a carry, 1 touchdown. Chase Claypool, GM Kev said Claypool was supposed to be the man. He balling, man. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, Chase had a big game, 7 catches, 110, 3 touchdowns on 11 targets for Chase Claypool. Juju Smith-Schuster, not so much. He's not looking all that terrific with Chase Claypool, as Big Ben looked like he found another favorite target. Carson Wentz on the other side, 20 of 35, 258, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in the matchup. Sacked 5 times, 81.5 QBR rating. Jalen Hurts came in through an 18-yard pass to keep them moving. They couldn't do what they needed to do to win. Miles Sanders, a lone bright spot in all the madness, 11 carries, 80 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Fulgham, a young veteran, a young rookie, by the way, Travis Fulgham, 10 catches, 152 yards, one touchdown off of 13 targets, as Wentz has found him in the matchup. He was doing a great job. So a few bright spots with Sanders and Fulgham, and even Jalen Hurts threw 18-yard going. But it's only a matter of time as they sink to 1-3 and 1. You got to start looking at do they look at pulling Carson Wentz? You know, Philly has a lot to think about. Pittsburgh 38-29. They're improved. They're undefeated. Philly not looking so well. Los Angeles Rams against the Washington Whataburgers. 30-10, the Rams was able to defeat the Whataburgers. Jared Goff, 21 of 30, 309 yards. He averaged 10 yards per throw every time he threw the ball. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 86.4 in the QBR rating. Cam Akers, 9 carries, 61 yards. And then there was Darrell Henderson, who had 15 carries for 31 yards. Everett was the top catcher of the ball with him, 4 catches for 90 yards. Robert Woods got going, 4 catches for 71 yards and the score. Cooper Kupp, 5 catches, 66 yards on the day. Looking over at Washington, they benched the young quarterback and put in Kyle Allen, who went 9 of 13 for 74 yards. He was sacked twice, couldn't get going. They put Alex Smith in, who went 9 of 17 for 37 yards. They tried different quarterbacks, same result. They end up losing. They are 1-4 and trash. The Rams move on. They are 4-1. How about that? And of course, the Bengals and Joey B, they're 1-3 and 1, same as the Eagles. They get demolished by Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, 27-3. Lamar 19 of 37, 180 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns, had an interception. He had a 69.3 QBR rating. Ingram, 11 carries, 57 yards on the day. Behind was Devin Duvernay, had a rush for 42 yards. Marquise had 6 catches, 77 yards, averaged 13 yards per catch, had a touchdown in the matchup. Then there was Mark Andrews, the tight end, got involved. He had 6 catches on 9 targets, 56 yards, and a score. Joey B, 19 of 30, 183, 6 yards per throw, not enough. Interception, sacked 7 times in the game. Mixon was shut down, 24 carries, 59 yards, not much going on. Not much going on at all. T. Higgins, 4 catches, 62 yards, nothing on the touchdowns. Tyler Boyd, 4 catches, 42 yards, nothing going on. 27-3. Baltimore trouses Cincinnati. They're 4-1. Uncle Mozzy, thoughts on that triad of games?
I think they need to bench Burrow and get him out of there before he gets killed. Point blank, period. I think if they don't get him out of there soon, he's gonna die. He took he got sacked 7 times yesterday. It was incredible.
6, I think it was 6 times. He couldn't.
7.
You're right. 7 times he was sacked yesterday, man. That's awful.
That's what I'm saying. So you sacked 7 times yesterday. So I just don't see a scenario where he makes it through the entire season if he has to keep putting up with that kind of abuse. That's gonna be rough. They're gonna do something, bro. I ain't gonna lie, it's pretty bad. Albeit the Ravens, I get it, but like, man, no human being can survive that kind of abuse week in, week out, and be able to sustain it for the long term. And that would be horrible, man, because I think that he's a generational talent. I just think that he needs some generational blocking around him. You got Mixon, which could help him out.
But he was shut down too.
Yeah, but again, that goes back into the offensive line. It's not like you don't have the personnel that can get it done. But when you snap the ball and 3 people are already touching your shoulder pads, it's pretty tough to get something going, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, it remains to be seen, bro. I really hope the best for him. I really hope it works out because, again, I think that would be horrific. As far as Philly, man, you're looking at a Philadelphia team that has all the pieces they need but a quarterback. And I think you won't see that quarterback until after Dak Prescott comes back from his injury. And when Dak Prescott comes back from his injury, I think that you'll see a trade happen between Dallas and Philadelphia at some point. But Dak goes out to Philadelphia, and when he goes out to Philadelphia, that franchise begins to turn it around. I think they put all their eggs in the Wentz basket, and it just didn't pan out like they thought it would. So that's my thoughts on that. Real tough game.
So you see a Dak Prescott trade to Philly? Is that what you said?
Absolutely, I see a Dak Prescott trade to Philly, and I'll tell you why. Philadelphia has all of their pieces. They just need a quarterback. Jerry Jones does not want to pay Dak Prescott $40 million. After the injury, he won't have to, but now he's stuck in a conundrum because now this obviously is hinging upon Andy Dalton being able to win games for the Cowboys. But if Andy Dalton, again, like we talked about, can finish the season, which he started at 1-0 yesterday, if he can finish the season, 7-4, 8-3, somewhere up in that area for the remainder of the games, then I don't see where Dak Prescott comes back. The Dallas Cowboys have showed us that. They showed us that with Quincy Carter. They showed us that with Drew Bledsoe. They showed us that with Tony Romo. Now is Dak Prescott on the slate. But if you've done that to your last 3 quarterbacks, and it's been a black guy and 2 white guys, chances are you're going to do it with Starkville's own Dak Prescott, and you're gonna move him, because it's not like Andy Dalton doesn't fit your mold, and that goes into a whole different topic. But Andy Dalton, Texas guy, born and bred, loves everything about it, would have loved to play for the Cowboys, hadn't he went to Cincinnati out of TCU. I do not see a scenario if he wins where Dallas brings Dak Prescott back, unless they get pressure from maybe outside or the players themselves, because they have a great deal of admiration for him. Other than that, I do not see where he does not get moved or move on from another team, and I do not see where someone in the division allows him to leave, because all 3 of those guys, whether it be the Giants, the Washington, whatever their names are now, or the Philadelphia Eagles, all 3 of those guys are missing the most important piece, which would be the quarterback to jumpstart their franchises and move forward into the future.
We're going to talk about the Dak Prescott situation coming up after we complete the rest of the breakdowns on the game, to get analysis on that and whether or not, what happens with that. But anyway, let's get into the next one. Houston Texans against the Jacksonville Sad Wars. The Sad Wars go down. No surprise there, 30-14 to Houston. Houston gets its first win of the season. Deshaun Watson, 25 of 35, 359, 3 touchdowns. In the matchup, David Johnson, 17 carries, 96 yards, averaging just under 6 yards a carry. Top receivers, Brandon Cooks, 8 catches, 161, averaged 20 yards per catch, 1 touchdown off of 12 targets. Not bad. Gardner Minshew, 31 of 49 for them, 2 touchdowns. He was sacked 3 times, but at a QB rating just under 70. James Robinson, their top back, 13 carries, 48 yards. Nothing going on there. LaVista Shenault was the top guy there, 7 catches, 79 yards off of 8 targets, as they continue to build the camaraderie. But Jacksonville, once again, they fall through the floor, 30-14. Next game, Miami said we're going to stick with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and it worked out for them as they were able to blast San Francisco, who benched Jimmy Garoppolo. They benched Jimmy Garoppolo. And let's look at it, 22 of 28. Now, if you're the San Francisco 49ers, I'll be quite concerned that you can't beat the Miami Dolphins, as talented as they are. I mean, you get Jimmy Garoppolo back, and he doesn't get it done. Fitzpatrick, 22 of 28, totally outplayed him. 350 yards, averaged 12.5 yards per throw. He had 3 touchdowns, sacked only twice, QBR rating of 99.1. Myles Gaston and Matt Breida provided somewhat of a rushing attack as they combined in the matchup, as all of them had 33 carries for 94 yards, average just under 3 yards an attempt. They had a rushing touchdown combined. And you look at the top threat getting the ball, it was Preston Williams. Who is he? Nobody knows. 4 catches, 106 yards, 1 touchdown off of 5 targets. Gesicki had 5 catches for 91 yards as well. Devontae Parker, 2 catches, 50 yards, had a score. And then you go over to the San Francisco side, and they're 2-3 now after, I don't know. Jimmy Garoppolo, 7 of 17, 77 yards, had 2 interceptions, sacked 3 times, QBR 1.4. That's preposterous, ridiculous. They benched him for backup CJ Beathard, who came in and had 9 of 18 for 94 yards, did a lot better, had a touchdown. He was sacked a couple of times, but his QBR rating was still 11.6, but he outperformed Jimmy Garoppolo. Raheem Mostert, 11 carries, 90 yards in the matchup. They might have to lean on the rushing attack more. This is the same issue that some of those big head offensive coordinators get, who want to throw the goddamn thing around. If you might want to run the ball, and I'm just looking at the pass attempt versus the rush attempt scenario, 35 passes versus 19 rushes. If you're the 49ers and you know you're not looking well, you got to rely on the rushing attack. Same issues. Good to see that we're not the only team that has a coach that's supposed to be a coach that knows how to throw the ball, gets stuck and just jammed on neutral or in pass, and he doesn't want to he wants to just keep throwing the goddamn ball. And I know they got behind at some point, but you got to bring the running attack with you. Brandon Ayuk was the top guy there, 3 catches, 44 yards. It's a stinker. 49ers go down 43-17 to the Miami Dolphins. How about that? How about that? And then, of course, one of the surprise teams, a big surprise team in the league to me, is the Cleveland Browns. The Browns supposed to stink, as their nickname indicates. But the bottom line is they're winning games. 32-23 in the matchup. They were able to beat a good Indianapolis Colts team. Baker Mayfield, 21-37, 2 touchdowns, had 2 interceptions in the game, 85.3. The kid still turns the ball over way too much. But, you know, they need to stick to the running attack, which they have. 33 rush attempts for 124, just under 4 yards per rush. Kareem Hunt had 20 carries for 72 yards. Dearness Johnson, their backup, had 8 carries, but these guys were around 4 yards per carry. They're doing what it takes to win, though. 32-23. Top receiver was Jarvis Landry, 4 catches, 88 yards. Odell Beckham, 5 catches, 58 yards. Austin Hooper, 5 catches, 57 yards. They were able to win. Phillip Rivers, 21-33, 243, 2 interceptions. He was sacked once. Totally was off. Jonathan Taylor, 12 carries, 57 yards, not much from the rushing attack. T.Y. Hilton, 6 catches off of 10 targets, 69 yards. They lose 32-23. Cleveland are 4-1. How about that? The stinking Browns are 4-1 in the NFL. That's amazing. And of course, the final matchup was, of course, Seattle. Seattle 27-26, a close game. Vikings stink as well. Russell Wilson, 20 of 32, 217, 7 yards a throw, 3 touchdowns. He was sacked 4 times, but still was able to guide the team to the win. Not only did Russell throw for 217 and 3 touchdowns through the air, but Russell also led the team in rushing. He had 5 carries for 58 yards. Chris Carson, 8 carries, 52 yards in the score. DK Metcalf stepped up, 6 catches, 11 targets, 2 touchdowns, 93 yards, 15.5 on the catch average. He was really the big deal here for them. Kirk Cousins, 27-39. How y'all feel about that extension now, Minnesota? And, you know, he was 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception, sacked 3 times in there, 60 on the QBR rating. Alexander Madison got the bulk of the carries for Delvin Cook, 20 carries, 112 yards in the matchup. You got Thielen, 9 catches off of 13 targets, 80 yards, 9 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns in the matchup. They still lose in the close one, 27-26. Russell Wilson and the Seahawks are 5-0 in the NFC. That's a mouthful. Mozzy, that's the rest of the games we got on the bevy. Go ahead and go for what you know.
Oh, this ought to be good here. Okay, starting with old Garoppolo, man.
We still got the Cowboys matchup. After you get through them, we'll go to the Cowboys matchup.
I got you. Old Garoppolo, man, and let's start out with him because I know Teal was looking at him yesterday. He like, man, because he was getting slammed in the fantasy. And I looked at the end of the game, and I got a whopping -3.42 points from Jimmy Garoppolo, which is an actual starting quarterback in the NFL, a Super Bowl starting quarterback in the NFL. I got -3 points from him. So that tells you the kind of day that he had in a 43-17 trouncing of San Francisco by Miami. But I also told you Fitzmagic was my guy, and you told me, I don't know why I don't want to start Tua. I told you, I said, man, Fitzmagic is good. He's just got to get in rhythm. That's the only thing about him. He's got to get in rhythm, and when he starts to win, he reminds me of Josh McCown, whatever his name was.
McClown.
The journeyman, I call him. If you notice, yeah, right. Every time he got in the game, when he got in rhythm, he win you 2, 3, 4 games. So it's the same thing. When you're looking at McCown and Garoppolo and Steve Walsh. You remember Steve Walsh? All these are the same kind of quarterbacks. They get the job done, but don't put too much expectation on you. Brad Johnson, Super Bowl winning quarterback. Why? He relied on the defense and did just enough to get the job done. I think Jimmy G is getting really cute. It might be coupled with them kind of forcing him to come back a little earlier than he should. He probably is ready to come back because they have big expectations for the 49ers in that division, which in my eyesight, moving to the next game, I don't see them beating the best team in the NFL right now, the Seattle Seahawks, led by the best quarterback, my guy, Russell Wilson, because I just don't see San Francisco being able to get around. I don't the defensive output that Seattle has been able to do. Although the Vikings, they relied on rusting talents to get them in position and ultimately win the game. And that's what winning quarterbacks do. That's what NFL quarterbacks should be. And I love it. I've loved Russell Wilson since he got in the league. I've always thought he was super underrated, but I know he's a generational talent, one of the most athletic guys, dual sport guy. He could have done anything in the world. He's just a natural success. That's what he is. And anything he wanted to do. I think he could have been a singer if he wanted to. But that's neither here nor there. Shouts out to hats off, I would say, Russell Wilson in Seattle. What they've been able to do and manifest out there has been awesome. What other games did we touch on? What other games did you touch on in that? I think you added 4 into that one. What was the other 2 games?
Dolphins, Niners, Colts, Browns, Vikings, Seahawks. Well, you talked about the Vikings.
Colts and Browns.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's touch on the Colts for a second. It's official that the river has dried up when it comes to Phillip Rivers. It's over with for him. That Indianapolis' issue is they're trying to win in 2020 with 2010 type talent. T.Y. Hilton, Phillip Rivers, these guys were great 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago. They've got to upgrade. If they don't, you know what? They might as well go and sign Dwight Freeney and put him back at defensive end with the rest of them. You understand what I'm saying? These are old players. These players have had their time. Their prime is over. And it's like once Andrew Luck decided to retire, the general manager and management overall just got stupid in their picks. They got dumb in their off-season acquisitions from the trade block and free agency, and then they go pick up Phillip Rivers, who everybody thought might be a good fit. Well, this is year 17 for him, and he's never been that guy that took his team and just made something happen. Was he an efficient quarterback? Yes. Is he a first, second, or third time ballot Hall of Famer? No. It's Phillip Rivers. I think the biggest thing he's going to be remembered for is the controversy surrounding him and Manning in that draft when Manning refused to play for San Diego for obvious reasons, and he chose to take it out to New York, which he won a couple Super Bowls and had a really good career that way. But Phillip Rivers has never been that guy to me. So when Indianapolis picked him up, I didn't understand what they were doing. Okay, when you decided to move away from Brissett and Andrew Luck had retired, it would seem to me that I'm going to put all my energy and focuses into getting a quarterback, which they were in position in the draft for their future. So I don't really know what they were doing because they passed on every quarterback in the draft that was available. And they, including Jalen Hurts. I would have rather see Jalen Hurts up there trying to do something, but you went and found Phillip Rivers and put him in a system with a bunch of other old, washed-up talent and really expect that to work. I don't understand what direction they're trying to take. I don't understand what they're thinking about or where they're going, but it's not where I would go if I was a GM or coach or owner. It's time for them to blow that team up and start all over again. And consequently, the Cleveland Browns. Humility rules the day. When you're the thing about Cleveland last year, they were outspoken, they were loud, they were obnoxious, and people began to hate them because they put a target, a big X on their own back, much like your guy and not my guy, LeBron James. They put a target on his back. He put a target on right. The whole team did. And when you couple that with the mismanaging and bad hiring of Freddie Kitchens when they brought him over as the head coach, it's like, what are you doing? Yeah, so it became a diva team. Yeah, terrible hire. It became a social media team. And social media is 2 things that happen with social media. They either love you or they're going to hate you. Ask Tory Lanez. So when you look at that, when you take all that into account, it's like, wait a minute. This team is trash. They talked all that foolishness and they lost they lost 2 games in a row. See, that begins to fester in the locker room. Now people are pointing fingers. Now those outrageous claims that you made, you can't live up to them. And then you got clown avatars while you're doing broadcasts, like some people I know. So when those things begin to happen, the team begins to unravel. And it's not until you discover a sense of self-worth, understand the roles. I think it took a while for OBJ to understand that from the receiving perspective, that was Jarvis Landry's team. It was his team before he got there. And as far as stability, not the one-handed miracle catch or the catch in the end zone down, not that, but the Marcus Colston of the team, all reliable, is going to be Jarvis Landry. It took a while for OBJ to understand that. It took a while for everybody to fall into their role. I think now the Nick Chubb thing I'm not too happy with because he was one of my fantasy guys as well, and I hate to see him having gone out. He'll be back, but I think it's going to be like 6 weeks or so. But he will be back, and he'll be able to help complete that run that they're on. But a 4-1 for that team is awesome. They probably should have another loss under their belt, but they don't. They should be 3-2, but they're not. So we got to revel in what it is. At this point, they're the best team in Ohio, and they have a legit shot as long as they keep their mouth shut and just play football.
We'll see, man. It's still a lot of season left to be gone, and usually with the Browns, do they suffer a big collapse? You know, you're looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers are there. You have the Baltimore Ravens are there. What do they look like against those teams? You know, so a lot to be said. There are winning some games, but the win, you have to beat the Steelers. You look at teams like Baltimore and the rest of them that could be coming up. So we'll see how the Browns go moving forward, man. There's a lot of toughness going on, but heads up and big ups to the Browns and the Raiders for what they're doing out there. All right, and let's move into the final game on the docket in terms of what happened in the recap. The Dallas Cowboys matchup. A lot of eyes was on this game. 0-5 Giants stinking up the place, but they kept it close in this matchup. Dallas was looking good at first, and then, of course, on the matchup, 37-34, they come ahead with a win by a field goal in the last few minutes. Dak Prescott, 14-21, 161, 8 yards per throw. He had an interception, but he was able to catch a pass for a touchdown, too, on what they call the Philly special. Then of course Dak went down on a horrible play when he scrambled to try to do something and dislocated or tore up his leg was bent the wrong way. Y'all seen it was really ugly. Ezekiel Elliott finished the matchup, 19 carries for 91 yards, had 2 rushing touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb really got going, 8 catches, 124 off 11 targets. Gallup caught a few big balls. He was thrown at 4 times, 4 catches, 73 yards. Amari Cooper, 2 catches, 23 off of 4 targets. He was kind of neutralized. Daniel Jones, 20 of 33, 222. No interceptions, no touchdowns, neither. Devonta Freeman got going into this game, 17 carries, 6 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Gallman, 5 carries for 24 yards. Slayton, the top man, 8 catches, 129 off 11 targets. No good enough. Exciting game with a lot of back and forths. They lose Dak Prescott for, what is it, Mozzy? I think it's 4 to 6 months. And with
4
that,
to 6 months, done.
And with that being said, you know, with him, and this might have to be a discussion leading forward because he's playing on a franchise tag. What happens moving forward? Now, if Dallas came out with a statement saying that he's still our guy, that's what Stephen Jones said, who's their general manager and son of the owner. So with them under a franchise tag and not getting a long-term deal, this injury, when he comes off, it could severely impact his asking price moving into the future, can it not?
Yeah, it definitely could. What Jerry and Steve in essence did was they pulled up down Canal Street. They jumped out their big Rolls Royce or Sprint. They probably Sprinter fans because that's how they do. They tricked out Sprinter van. They went in there. They took all their money, bought a bunch of black chips, split them all to the middle of the table, and bet against Dak Prescott and his ability to be the quarterback of the future. And they won. It worked out for them. Can you imagine had they agreed to that $40 million a year, $75, $80 million guaranteed? What would be their mindset this morning, knowing that essence they're out of $80 million because there's no guarantee that Dak Prescott will ever come back and be the same level of quarterback that he was before this injury. This is a very crippling injury, especially given the fact that Dak Prescott is a quarterback that relies on his legs and feet and ankles and to make things happen outside of simply passing. Passing within itself, being a quarterback, you have to be able to plant. You have to be able to throw off of a foot or lean into a pivot. You've got to be able to do that. And that ankle plays a pivotal part, excuse the pun there, plays a pivotal part in his ability to be a successful quarterback or the quarterback that we know. So will he be able to either fully recover and retain the style we've seen since 2016, or will he have to adapt to a different style, much like Kobe Bryant had to do after a series of injuries when he was no longer dunking backwards and hanging off the rim, and he switched more to a post-up, back to the goal, fadeaway type game. You see what I'm saying? And this happens to a lot of athletes as they get older and they pick up on injuries and their body just begins to fail them in certain ways, they have to figure out other ways to be creative. I think Dak doesn't fall quite in that realm yet. I think he's young enough to recover from this injury. I think advancements in medicine, because I mean, a decade ago, you know, after this season, he'd been cut, wrote off, and when you go to him on a fantasy draft, he'd be one of the guys that had the NFL logo next to his name if this was a decade ago. So lucky for him, it's 2020, and we've made so many great advancements in sports medicine where we can just have him in and out of surgery. Can you imagine? You remember 95, 96? Can we ever have this conversation about a guy getting injured on Sunday around 3 o'clock, taken to a hospital, went into surgery the same day, came out, and the surgery was a complete success, and now he's got a complete rehab until it fully mends? We'd have never had that thought process in 1995, 1996, 2000 even. You get those kind of injuries, it's over with. You can remember in 2004, 2005, Drew Brees showed the injury, which is almost as severe. It was like, is this guy even going to be, is he even worth it? He bounced around, and we got him for a steal. We got him for a hot sausage on toast, in essence. So we don't know if that's going to be. But what I can say is Andy Dalton, like I talked about at the beginning of this triad of games that we talked about, Andy Dalton is a successful quarterback in this league. He fits the Dallas mold. He is Dallas football. He is America's team. And I think we all know what I'm talking about when we look at Andy Dalton and what his aesthetics are compared to Dak Prescott and what his aesthetics are. Then you got all kind of other stuff like Dak's brother that's always seems to be in the mix, and the one who talked him out of taking the $33 million a year, which to me, I still do not understand. Coming from where you come from, you're playing with house money. They offer you $33 million. You got 2 big paydays left in your career. Don't fight it. This should be a lesson to everybody. Listen, I understand that people have a predetermined worth, but when you're that close, right, $33 million, which we could have incentivized upwards to north of 35, 36 million for sure, which would have only put you 2 or 3 million off the target mark. So what was that really about? Was it about Dak Prescott, or was it about his brother? Because his brother puppeteered that entire situation. And at this point, sitting in that hospital bed or gurney or wherever he is now, I can't imagine that's not going to resonate through his mind. The fact that, damn, I should have took that $33 million for 5 years. I'd have walked away with over $150 million. Now instead, I got a franchise tag for $135 million or $36 million or whatever it is, and that's all I'm getting. And now I'm in a Teddy Bridgewater boat where I've got to prove my worth, reintroduce myself to the NFL as a quarterback, and prove that I could be a starting quarterback. Oh, by the way, there are other quarterbacks coming out into the league. You got Trevor Lawrence. You got the guy from Ohio State. You got young talent that's coming up, and you got young talent that'll be replacing a culpable talent. You know, you'll have Tua replacing Fitzmagic. So what happens to Fitzmagic? Fitzmagic is already in the game. Dak Prescott would have to come back. Not saying somebody would take Fitzmagic over Dak, but it would still be an issue because you got more competition into the pool. So Dak has got to overcome all that, and unfortunately, he can't make a move on any of that till at least February. I think that's sad.
Yeah, that was a big gamble, 30+ million. Man, he wanted 40 or something like that, something ridiculous, and they were offering him 33. And boy, right now, if you had the opportunity to spin back the clock, they'll sign that deal, lickety split, because this is going to cost them some money. You no way you're going to get the value you was getting pre-injury until you could prove that you're at that level. And with the age and factors, and of course, not only that, but the history of how the Cowboys handle the QB injury situation is pretty much standard. They do the same thing every time. I mean, you talked about this before the show, how they replace quarterbacks after injuries, and it's the same period when you went from, what was it,
Quincy Carter. Drew Bledsoe replaced him.
Right.
Tony Romo replaced Bledsoe, and Dak Prescott replaced Tony Romo. All off injuries. So I can't see where this would be any different.
$45 million. Thank you for Philanthrodoc City Warning. Ridiculous. Now, man, that just goes to show you, man. Sometimes, man, listen, 30-something million. You a football player. 30-something million, you a football player. Where is your damn head at, man? There are people, I mean, I ain't gonna even get into it, man. I ain't gonna do it. But anyway, let's finish up on this, man. Bills and Titans have a matchup. It's rescheduled until Tuesday. They're both undefeated. The Bills coming in at 4-0, I want to say. and the Titans are 3-0. So we got a battle of two undefeateds as the Bills and Titans match up. Game's been rescheduled for Tuesday, October the 13th. That'll be a good Tuesday night matchup and a good Tuesday surprise for a lot of football fans out there to look out for those two matched up teams going on. The Saints and the Chargers tonight in the Dome, 7:15. At 5:30ish, I think, we'll fire up TSC virtual tailgate today, so y'all be looking out for that as well. So Uncle Mozzy, quickly, you want kind of preview what goes on, who wins the Bills and the Titans matchup scheduled for Tuesday, what happens with that one, then we'll get into the rest of the news on who's the new coach of the interim coach for the Atlanta Falcons, and of course stuff going on with the Jets as well. Please comment on that.
Well, it really depends. It really depends on who gets off first, Titans and the Bills, because they play two different styles. The Bills, they do have a run game. I'm not gonna say that, but they rely heavily on my guy, Stephon, best receiver in the league, Diggs, to primarily move the ball downfield because they sling it. Tennessee doesn't play that way. Tennessee is a run, pounding ground, defensive, hard-nosed, more traditional blue-collar Pittsburgh Steeler type football team. So it really depends on who implements their will first. I will say this: if the Bills air it out to my guy, Stephon, best receiver in the world, Diggs, they air it out to him and they get things going really quickly and run up a score, maybe a 2 touchdown, maybe a touchdown, 10-point lead, touchdown and a field goal. I think at that point it'll be tough for Tennessee to kind of implement their will and by running their big bruising running backs and trying to implement their will on the ground and pound the ground and play hard-nosed defensive football, because obviously when you're down a couple of scores, you got to put the ball in the air. And Corey Davis, which is one of my receivers, hadn't shown up yet. It's been the other guy on the other side who's shown up a lot more than he has. But again, that's still not their game. Can they do it? Yeah, but if they get down a couple scores, I don't know if they'll be able to will themselves back into the game. But it does remain to be seen. Hopefully it works out for them, because I do love Tennessee and I love the Titans because of the style of football they play. Although Stephon, best receiver in the league, Diggs, is my guy, I still say I like Tennessee tonight in a very low-scoring affair, maybe 14-10.
All right, let's move on to our next group of stories. Now we're going to start with the Falcons as they get rid of Dan Quinn, and the new head coach, interim coach, name is Raheem Morris. You're familiar with Raheem, as he was the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers some time ago. He will take over the 0-5 Atlanta Falcons in the wake of Dan Quinn's dismissal. The Falcons finalized a deal with Morris for their making him their interim coach, according to the NFL Network. Raheem is a strong leader and a talented coach that has adapted to a variety of roles since joining the Falcons in 2015. President and CEO Rich McKay said in a statement, he has experience as a head coach and has worked on both sides of the ball. We felt that combined with his connection to the players and coaching staff, which will be an important factor as we move forward in 2020, he was the right person to give the responsibility. They also announced Monday the firing of special teams coordinator Ben Kotwa, who had been with the team since 2019. The Falcons added their linebackers coach Jeff Ulbrich, who will replace Morris as the defensive coordinator. Running backs coach Bernie Parmalee will replace Kotwa as the special teams coordinator, and general management coordinator Will Herringer will replace Parmalee as the running backs coach. Morris spent 3 years as the head coach of the Buccaneers from 2009 to 2011, combining a great record of 17-31. He sandwiched the 10-win 2010 season between a 3-win year and the first leading the Bucs to a 4-game win campaign that led to his dismissal. He's 44 years of age. He joined the Falcons back in 2015 as a DB's coach after 3 years in Washington. He was moved to the wide receivers coach in 2016, where he spent 3 seasons. The Falcons moved him back to the defensive side of the ball, where he helped improve the secondary late in 2019, and he's also helped save Quinn's job for that season. Now, Morris took over as a full-time defensive coordinator in the 2020, and given his coaching experience, Morris was the logical choice to take over for Quinn after the Week 5 loss. Morris is now charged with injecting life into a lifeless club that has fired its longtime coach and GM after a 20-3-15 loss to the Carolina Panthers. If Atlanta turns the season on a dime, expect Morris to be a candidate for a permanent head coaching gig. The interim task begins Sunday as Minnesota and the Vikings take on the Vikings 1-4. Two of my least favorite football clubs, the Falcons and the Vikings, battle against each other next week. So we'll see how that shakes. Also in other news dealing with the NFL, Adam Gase, everybody waiting for him to get his ass run off. He's saying now with the offense threatening franchise marks and futility, Gase is conceding Monday that he might be time to change himself as the play caller. For the last 4 years, I've toyed with the idea every once in a while, alluding to his time as a head coach. I mean, I don't think I've ever been opposed to trying to change some things up. I'd say everything is on the table at this point. You stink, Adam Gase. There's no reason why you should still be the play caller. You need to give up the play caller. Don't play with the duties. They shouldn't be having this discussion. That dude's the wrong coach. They should have been fired him. I've been saying that he's a joke. Despite an 0-5 start, he's 7-14 with the team. Always have received public supports from the Jets. They morons, and Woody Harrison, whatever his name is, whatever Johnson, is an idiot. He must have dementia to keep this clown on. But he was responsible for the locker room culture that ultimately led for them getting rid of Jamal Adams, who's a top 10 safety in the league. You trade him for a second and fourth round pick, get peanuts for Jamal freaking Adams, and also what he did with Le'Veon Bell as well. I mean, he's just an asshole. He needs to be fired. Owen, if this ain't enough to get you fired, I don't know what it is. Jets are a joke franchise. That's the two stories we have. Mozzy, feel free to comment on either one of both or both.
Well, first off, let's start with the Raheem Morris thing. I hate to say this as a Saints fan, but I really hope Atlanta has success, and I'll tell you why. Is because Raheem Morris has been shrouded in controversy since his departure from Tampa Bay. You remember when they had the controversy of minorities in head coaching? It was an issue with him because he had went on several jobs. And each job that he went on, it was almost like a quid pro quo or like affirmative action, and where they would bring him out just to say, they interviewed the black guy, but they'd always pass on him. So I think this is an awesome opportunity, especially in the city of Atlanta, which is a predominantly black city. You have predominantly black players. I think that he could connect with those guys a lot better. It won't seem so distant between them and the fans. I think that he can really bridge the gap here, and some positive things and strides can really be made, especially given the fact that we do need more. I mean, the same thing with Romeo Crennel. I hope he is able to retain his job as well, because I think that we do need a little bit more color on the sidelines, not as assistants and coordinators and ball boys and players, but actual head coaches and GMs. So this is a great step in the right direction. Wrong team, obviously, because I bleed black and gold, but that's neither here nor there. I think overall, from the cultural standpoint as a whole, this is awesome for the culture. I would not want this to be or go any other way. I'm glad it happened. Congratulations to him. I hope that he maintains that job moving forward, but that's going to be, hinging upon whether he wins or not. And I wish Romeo Crennel also the best. And, hopefully we can interject two more black coaches that are overly deserving for the jobs. And let's see if they can make it work.
All right, Uncle Mozzy, I'm gonna get your prediction on the Chiefs game. I mean, on the Saints and Chargers matchup. We're gonna have the TSC Q&A and TSC virtual tailgate later on today, in which I'll go into some more information, but a little Saints nugget information for the family members out there. As Ken Crawley has been activated, and they released Hunt and other moves, and activating Ken Crawley to the roster. And we'll see. The Saints also elevated Austin Carr and Garrett Griffin as well to the active roster. In addition, the Saints roster exemption for James Hurst ended, and he's actually on the active roster. So, we'll see how that all shakes. And about the Saints and the Chargers matchup, give me a quick breakdown before we end the show.
Saints Chargers, I think the Chargers, they don't get off well enough. I think the Saints beat them handily, 24-14, maybe 24-17, a little bit closer than I like, but we are rebuilding. And as long as the offense continues to have their output of 21 or better, and the defense could smother the opposition 15 or less, so winning combination football, I think that we'll be able to pull it off tonight. Final score, 24-14. You heard it here first, Uncle Swami.
All right, there it is. And that'll do it for another fantastic jam-packed episode of TSC Unleashed. I'd like to thank all of the Black and Gold family members and the family for chiming in on this episode. It was a jam-packed, but usually our Monday broadcasts are recapping a lot of what happened in the past weekend, and we covered everything, all the news, notes, and items. We'll be back later on with the TSC virtual tailgate. We'll start off the upcoming matchup, the Monday night matchup, as the Saints and Chargers get ready to duel it out in the Superdome. So we'll talk about that a little later on. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining us in this edition. Much love to y'all. Please hit the like button and feel free to share the link on your social media. From me and Uncle Mozzy, peace out.